Now, as we get closer to training camp, man, Shedeur Sanders is going to be going up against Deshaun Watson. Now, many people in the media are starting to backtrack from what they were saying about Deshaun Watson and pretty much basically say Shedeur still might play. But just about a week or two ago, y'all was the same people coming out with articles stating that, hey, you know what? Shedeur Sanders might not be the starter. Now y'all saying that he definitely gonna play. Which one is it? Is Deshaun Watson the old Deshaun Watson, or is he just a practice player? Because as of right now, we can't y'all sound goofy as hell because y'all was the ones who especially Mary Kay, because that's who we finna listen to. Mary Kay, you distinctly said that Deshaun Watson was looking magnificent. Her and a whole lot of other reporters. Now y'all trying to backtrack what y'all was saying. Now let's listen to this real quick, man, because this is crazy, crazy work.
Well, I just really believe that when they've told us over and over that he's a career Brown and that they're not trading him and that they expect him to come here and have a great season, I'm going to take them at their word for that. But now, having said that, there has to be a little bit of a caveat. I suppose there is a world. You can never say never in these situations.
No.
Because if someone came along and made them an incredible offer that they couldn't refuse, perhaps they would consider it. But at this moment in time, I just don't see that happening.
Mary Kay, they do seem annoyed that every chance they get, they're being asked about it. And, we're sitting here, admittedly, we are trying to parse every subject, every predicate, any type of response, the body language, their eye movement. We're looking for tells. It would be very easy for Myles Garrett or the coaches to come out and discuss the types of communication they're truly having. They seem to want to dance around it. That's what is bizarre to us.
Well, when I asked Todd point blank the nature of his communication with Myles Garrett at the voluntary minicamp in April, and he said they've exchanged a couple of text messages so far. But at that time, he also said, you guys are making a big deal out of this. This is not a big deal. We know Myles. We know he'll be here and be ready to play. Now, all you have to do is look at Myles' Instagram to see that he's been traveling most of the offseason. I think he's in Korea right now. And, he's been all over the place. He spent a lot of time in Asia with his girlfriend, Chloe. They filmed a commercial. So Myles is off doing Myles Garrett type of things, but it didn't prevent him last year from winning NFL Defensive Player of the Year, from setting the sack record. They're not worried about it. So I just don't think that there's trade winds blowing with Myles Garrett right now. I think he'll be here.
Do you think, though, Mary Kay, that in this era where these athletes do podcasts or they could just go on social media, I mean, he could make all this disappear with one 15-second clip that would take him exactly 15 seconds to upload and produce? Do you think he enjoys the fact that the national publications and First Take and the debate shows that they're all using this and shows like this for fodder? Because he could make it disappear so fast.
Well, he definitely moves the needle, and he is definitely going to be a national topic of conversation. He always has been, especially after, the very public trade demand back at the Super Bowl that year. So he definitely does bring a lot of national attention. But, again, he's out doing his own thing, and he does things his own way. And maybe he doesn't mind some speculation. Maybe he doesn't mind some of the attention. I'm not really too sure about that. We haven't had a chance to ask him. But when I see him out there doing Myles stuff, he's taking photos. Like I said, in Asia, he's enjoying awards ceremonies and doing some celebrity stuff. I think he's living his life. I don't think he's on social media every day wondering, what ESPN is saying about him. I just don't think that's Myles.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the show. Your thoughts about Deshaun Watson. I just got rid of your tweet. It was about Deshaun Watson in 2024. Can you give us the headline again, Mary Kay? I'm sorry.
Well, basically, I wrote a column yesterday saying why his arm looks so much better right now than it did in 2024. I talked to an orthopedic surgeon who has worked for an NFL team in the not too distant past and has performed all kinds of surgeries like this. And he said absolutely 100%. Now, he hasn't operated on DESHAUN, but he said a quarterback who has undergone fractured shoulder surgery and torn labrum surgery isn't necessarily going to look like himself in the 9 months after that surgery. But now that he's been 2.5 years out, and he also had another year off to rest the arm last year, it just looks so much better. You guys can see the clips, I'm sure, on YouTube of DESHAUN hitting the long ball. He's got more velocity on the ball. He did not trust that arm in 2024. I was there at the Greenbrier one day, and this didn't go over well, but I watched him not be able to hit a pocket in a net 25 yards out. He left it short, and he cut his practice short that day. And when I wrote about it, like I said, that didn't go over well with probably him and the team, but he wasn't himself in 2024, ever himself in 2023 with the arm and the shoulder, because that started way back in week 3. So that year was kind of a wash. And then you fast forward to 2020. He didn't have any confidence in the arm at all. And that wasn't the only problem in 2024. They didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have their offensive tackles. They didn't have David Njoku. Amari Cooper wanted out. Jerry Jeudy didn't practice in training camp very much. They had a new offense being installed that nobody really kind of got or understood or practiced. And it was just a recipe for disaster. So this year, things are much better for him and around him, including the arm strength.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on the show. So is he, I know they won't confirm who's the leader in the clubhouse to be the starter. Do you believe that he is the leader to be the starter, or are we up in the air still?
I do believe that he is the leader in the clubhouse right now. That's what it looks like when we look out there at practice, and that's what it looks like based on the performance of the two quarterbacks, DESHAUN and SHEDEUR. But here's the thing to remember about SHEDEUR Sanders. SHEDEUR is a gamer. SHEDEUR plays on natural instincts. When the lights are on and it's time for him to march downfield in a 2-minute situation, he gets in a zone and he lets his natural instincts take over. And that's why you saw him be able to perform pretty well in some clutch situations last year, despite the fact that he had never thrown to most of these players and the fact that he didn't have much protection and that the line was held together with smoke and mirrors. So he's not necessarily going to excel or shine in these type of practice settings because this isn't when you get into that zone, when you get into that rhythm. So my guess is that they will set a QB depth chart, maybe coming out of minicamp, maybe even going into minicamp, not sure about that. But just because you set your QB depth chart doesn't mean that is going to be your opening day starter. So I think this is going to happen in phases. I think a QB depth chart will be set just so you can have your ones working together in camp. But then you still have an opportunity to go out there in joint practices against the Bills, in preseason games, and state your case. So I just don't even think it's going to be over when the QB depth chart is set.
Well, I think that's very interesting because I've said all along that I thought it was going to be really hard for SHEDEUR with a new coaching staff and this type of time frame that we know that wasn't set in stone, but was something offered up by the new head coach about wanting to have, his depth chart decided hopefully by June. And you just said SHEDEUR is a gamer, but if he doesn't get the opportunities in the games, then we're just relying on practice and mastery of a playbook. And that was always going to be to Deshaun Watson's edge.
Well, DESHAUN does show out well in these types of situations because of his athleticism, and his athleticism is really on display in these practices, and also just his experience, his mastery of just NFL football. I mean, you're talking about a former first-round pick versus, who has started numerous games versus a young quarterback who is still in the developmental phase. So naturally, DESHAUN is going to look better in this setting. He moves better. He makes very, very quick decisions, and he just looks the part. But that doesn't mean that this thing, once again, is going to be over, like I said, because the thing about SHEDEUR is that he steps up when he gets in that zone. I saw it so many times last year, even in games, and he didn't have necessarily the right infrastructure to perform as well as he might have if he had better receivers and a better offensive line. But there was still something about him. He had the it factor. And sometimes that it factor doesn't show up until the lights come on.
If Brendan Sorsby doesn't get his injunction and has to go to the supplemental draft, how interested are the Browns in him right now?
It's tough to say. I do not know how interested they are. I do know that they did plenty of due diligence on him for last year's draft because there was a chance he was going to come out. So I've written this. I've said this. I know that they have a book on him so far. And what they will need to do if he goes into the supplemental draft is update their evaluation on him. But they already have one, so they would not be starting from scratch. What they'll have to determine, and this is a big thing to have to deal with. Do you think that he's going to stay gamble free or whatever you would say in a gambling addiction situation? Do they think that he can remain clean in that way? And I think right now, a lot of young guys are struggling in this nature because we have put gambling, of course, right at their fingertips every single day. And it's hard. I'm sure it's very, very difficult to overcome something like this. And, who knows if he's going to be able to do it. So this is different than any other supplemental draft case, and they're really going to have to think long and hard about it.
Yeah, I just know, Mary Kay, when I've heard like Albert Breer come on and say he could be top 5 next year or would have been, it gets a little, while watching the video, intoxicating. Like his video looks better, in my opinion, and what do I know, but looks better than Mendoza. And he went number 1 overall this year. You know, the different arm angles, looks to have that deep ball. Now, he did not finish well the last 4 games of the season. He would have been playing with a lot more talent. Obviously, the following year had the Texas Tech thing come to fruition. So I understand, too, that, hey, you wouldn't have to tank for him. If you took him in the supplemental, you would not have to tank. You wouldn't have to sit here and celebrate losses because it got you closer.
What if you don't know if he's good? I mean, as a fan, what do you don't know if he's good?
Well, fans don't know if anybody's good.
Yeah, they do.
We all hope.
They all have feelings if they have a guy knows a guy's good. Do they believe that he's going to be that great?
I don't know if Mary Kay wants to hear us argue and bicker about this. She wants to take part in the interview.
Many times in front of Mary Kay.
We tell her to come on and give her insight, and we talk all over her.
All right. Let me interrupt here for a minute. You can talk amongst yourselves when I'm gone. Just kidding. But I do think that I personally think that it probably would be a risk worth taking in terms of some kind of a draft pick because you're not shelling out millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's a low financial risk, and maybe you can get the guy in the building and then really determine how he's going to do from a gambling standpoint. And this has always been a team of second chances. Andrew Berry is a general manager of second chances. We all know that by now. So, why not take one on this young man and maybe get him in your building and just see what might the situation be with his off-the-field issue?
Joel Bitonio, is he coming back?
The longer it goes, it seems to me probably not, but I don't know for sure. Everyone's in lockdown on this. We can't get anybody to say anything. Nobody's really heard from Joel. So I'm guessing the answer to that is no, but I can't say that definitively.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? Kenny, I thought we would have some of this ironed out by now. Do you think there's a chance he's
your offensive guard, Joel? Whatever happened there?
Do you think there's a chance he's maybe waiting for